the most profound movements, and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery, and that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery. It was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, "Ethan, do you remember? When you were gonna be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap." But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. They will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root, a skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino-American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them And I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Oh, here we go. Here we go on a Friday, January 29th, 2016. And now, I am not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill's out of town. And he missed the circus, man. Holy cow. Last night, what a night for politics. You had the Republican debate. You had the Donald Trump rally for the troops. The veterans, I should say, all happening in Iowa, and we're going to talk about it today with Yee at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. That is our phone number. Memorize it, put it on your speed dial, whatever you need to do. I've got to hear from you today because we've got so much to talk about between Trump's and the GOP debate. We got a lot of good audio, of course. Not a good night for Ted Cruz. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about that because I got things to get off my chest about Ted Cruz. I'm just so happy he had a bad night. And then, of course, Donald Trump with his rally. By the way, running the board is Jamie Benson. Got to give Jamie Benson a little credit here. I got to point this out because yesterday Donald Trump tweeted there were two candidates who wanted to show up at his event. And Jamie G chats me during the show. He says, I bet it's Huckabee and Santorum. Guess which two candidates showed up with Donald Trump last night? Oh, it was Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum.
You know, they're sending me to Iowa next week. I'll be reporting exclusively.
It's been nice
the
knowing
election,
you.
So
I mean, you are now an official pundit.
Bill Press audience.
You are a pundit, a
It's fun while it
prognosticator. That, of course, Jamie Benson, who is running the board. If you call that number I told you earlier, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, the voice you will hear on the other end of the line is that of Ray Rogers, who is standing by to take your calls. And we are on video, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, and also on Free Speech TV if you have us on DirecTV, Dish Network, or the Roku box. Don't forget that Roku box, y'all. We're on there.
Shout out to the Roku.
Shout out Roku.
In my DJ Khaled voice.
If you are watching us, you are doing it because of the great, great work of the birthday boy himself, Cyprian Bolding. Happy birthday, Sip.
Big time, Sip.
Big time, Sip. I can tell you, Sip and I have been working together for, Jesus, what is it now, Sip? Like 4 or 5 years? Like 4 or 5 years now. I'm going to tell you, in that time, I've gotten a little balder. You know, I've gotten a little bit balder. Sip's a little more salt than pepper these days. But we still got it, right? And we're working with these youngsters, Jamie and Ray. Oh, my goodness.
Are you kidding me? We're just trying to keep up with you.
Jamie Benson and Ray Rogers in there. A hell of a front court for the Bill Press team, by the way. All right. So I want to. We got so much to talk about with the debate. We're just going to jump right into it here in just a moment. Like I said, it was a bad night for Ted Cruz. It was a good night for Donald Trump. Not a good night for Fox News. We're going to talk about all of that coming up. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
All right, just a couple of other stories for you on this Friday morning. Sad news out of Providence, Rhode Island. Former Mayor Buddy Cianci.
I got to tell you, this guy is a crazy guy.
He's a crazy guy. He passed away yesterday at 74 years old. A polarizing figure for many across the country, maybe not so much in New England. Seen as a hero, the Republican mayor served 2 separate terms as mayor of Providence. But of course, went to prison for corruption along the way. And we've got the book right there.
Former in-studio guest on the Bill Press Show, Politics and Pasta. I got to tell you something. This is a phenomenal read. I read this book. This is a phenomenal read. Buddy Cianci, I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. Not a great guy.
No.
Sort of a goon. I mean, in all, but I mean, he did a good job with his town. I'll say that.
He was a man of the people,
He really
right?
was.
I mean, he
He
brought
really was.
back Providence twice. you could argue.
Exactly.
And
2 times.
he was the type of guy that would spend plenty of time with his constituents.
Yeah.
At barbecues, church, the bar, wherever it ended up being.
Especially the bar.
Buddy Cianci, of course, tried again to return as mayor of Providence in 2014. Ended up losing to a Democrat. So
real character.
Rest
As
in
a
peace
real
there
character.
to Buddy Cianci.
Yeah.
If I have this going. All right. So also in the news here, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen in some trouble this morning. A report from The Guardian reveals that a 300-foot yacht owned by the billionaire co-founder of Microsoft tore up 14,000 square feet of coral reef in the Cayman Islands.
What?
That's about 80% of a protected area in the West Bay
Oh
replenishment
my
zone.
God! 80%?
80%. That's a lot. Allen is worth, don't forget, $18.1 billion. How much do you think the fine is, Peter?
Oh, I'm sure it's not very much. I'm going to guess it's like $1,000.
It is chump change to a billionaire. It's still pretty significant to you and I. $600,000.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well,
is the fine.
to him, though, that's nothing.
It's still nothing, but he will be paying that fine. It's caused by the anchor chain on his boat, the MV Tatoosh.
Tatoosh?
Yeah.
Tadouche, am I right?
Tadoosh. And finally, we know who will be presenting the awards at the Oscars. Of course, we've been talking on this show over the past couple of weeks about the lack of diversity with the nominees.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You do have an African-American comedian hosting the show in Chris Rock, and now we know who will be presenting those awards. Benicio del Toro, Tina Fey, Lady Gaga, Whoopi Goldberg, Ryan Gosling, Kevin Hart, Sam Smith, Charlize Theron, Jacob Tremblay, the kid from Room, The Weeknd, the hip-hop R&B artist.
Wait, why do we have, in all honesty, this is the Oscars, why do we have The Weeknd and Lady Gaga?
You got to have a couple of crossovers.
Ugh.
Also,
Does he act, though?
No.
Well,
Come on. He's a shy guy in real life. Also, Pharrell Williams will be presenting an award. The Oscars coming right up, February 28th, right around the corner. And Peter, don't forget, today is the deadline to vote for the SAG Awards.
I know. I'm
coming up at the end
not
of this
quite
month.
caught up, but I've watched a lot of them. It's your first year as a SAG voter. It's exciting, right?
I'm really excited.
With great power comes great responsibility and also free screeners.
So I will tell you one thing real quick. I'm torn. Maybe our listeners can help me decide.
Go ahead, yeah.
Best actor.
Okay.
Not a strong category this year.
No.
I'm torn between Bryan Cranston and Leonardo DiCaprio.
I go full Cranston on this. I'm fully in the Bryan Cranston.
Because Trumbo wasn't a good of a movie.
It was an okay
as The
movie. It
Revenant.
was a good movie. It was not a great movie.
Right.
But Bryan Cranston was great. And also, I know we all want to see Leonardo DiCaprio finally win a thing, right? Like win an award. I think The Revenant was a bigger vision than it was like a performance by him. I think he did great. But I think that The Revenant, the reason it was such a great movie was because of the vision of the director, not necessarily because of his acting.
He did eat raw buffalo heart, though.
Can I tell you something else? Why? Because like every time he eats this stuff, he's right next to a fire. You notice this in the movie? He's next.
It's a nails thing,
This was
man.
a legitimate beef I had when I was watching the movie. I'm yelling at the TV because there's a couple scenes where he has to eat raw meat out in the wild tundra. Spoiler alert. And he does it right next to a raging fire. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to eat raw bison liver, or if you got to eat bison liver, put it over the fire, dude. Like, cook it.
He was going through a lot, man. He probably wasn't thinking.
I'm going to tell you something.
You're stuck out there in that wilderness? Come on.
I'm telling you something right now. If I'm ever in that position where I have to eat some sort of off meat, all right, and I'm next to a fire, I will have the faculties about me to go, you know what? I'm going to kiss this with a little flame real quick.
A little torch.
Just warm it up at least. For crying out loud.
Know.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad to know how you handle the survival situation.
I'm just saying, I'm going to cook it. I'm going to cook it before I just go in raw dog. That's just all I'm saying. By the way, I forgot to mention all the great guests we have on today. Good grief. What a job Jamie did booking this show today. Marlon Marshall from the Hillary for America campaign will be joining us from Iowa. Later on this hour. Also next hour, the wonderful Emily Crockett will be joining us to talk all things gender. She's their gender reporter at Vox, and she's also going to talk about Planned Parenthood, and oh, what a story that is. Lindsay Gibbs from Think Progress will be joining us. She's with Think Progress Sports. So she's going to be joining us in the third hour, and a little something special for me. In the last segment of the show. Bayou Bakery is going to be coming in. We're going to be starting off the Mardi Gras celebrations right here with David Guas, chef from Bayou Bakery. Okay, so, Jamie, I'm just going to start off with the first couple of clips from the debate last night because Megyn Kelly started off the debate by addressing the fact that, someone's missing.
Before we get to the issues, let's address the elephant not in the room tonight.
It was Donald Trump was not there. Can we jump down to the Ted Cruz where he tried to open up with what he called the Donald Trump portion of the debate?
I'm a maniac, and everyone on this stage is stupid, fat, and ugly. And Ben, you're a terrible surgeon. Now that we've gotten the Donald Trump portion out of the way.
Okay, comedy's not for everybody. Okay, Ted Cruz, you could say he's a good debater. I personally disagree with that. Everybody says he's such a great debater, but every time I see him, I always think he comes off as a bad actor. You know, it's like this old school mentality that you got to play up these theatrical politics, and I just don't think people buy that crap anymore. Not to mention the fact that Ted Cruz looks like a surgeon's glove that someone just funneled a bunch of maggots into and put in a suit and put up there in front of people. Just to watch this guy tell a joke. Ugh. The joke was stupid. It fell flat. It's dumb.
Impressions are particularly Ted Cruz's low point.
Oh, dude, when he does The Simpsons or he does The Princess Bride, get out of here. We've all seen it. He's horrible. He always just sounds like Ted Cruz. But I will say this. Ted Cruz had a bad night last night. I want to play a couple of clips that sort of highlight that. That second clip, Jamie, where Megyn Kelly highlights some of his past with immigration and really got aggressive with him.
Pressed last month on why you supported legalization, you claimed that you didn't, right? Like you just did. I saw that.
I don't want immigration reform to fail. I want immigration reform to pass. I believe if this amendment were to pass, the chances of this bill passing into law would increase dramatically.
Was that all an act? It was pretty convincing.
Wow. Megyn Kelly just coming right back at him. Also, Chris Wallace, one of the other moderators on Fox News last night, this shows just sort of how petulant Ted Cruz can be because a question went to Chris Christie, and then Chris Christie finished it, and then Chris Wallace tried to go to somebody else to answer a question, and Ted Cruz would not shut up. He kept trying to talk over Ted Cruz, and Chris Wallace sort of had to make the point. Nobody mentioned your name. Nobody brought you into this. We have rules in the debate, and you're going to follow them.
You don't get 30 seconds to respond to me.
Your question was you have disagreed.
You don't get 30 seconds to respond to me. I'd like to go on, sir. I know you like to argue about the rules, but we're going to conduct the debate.
It's not a good look.
Like, dude, you're the front runner in this debate.
Exactly.
Because Donald Trump's not on stage.
Exactly.
You're going to have the most talk time no matter what.
He had a ton of talk. He had a ton of time to talk. And I have to tell you, he didn't do great with the time that he had. I really don't think so. And everybody keeps saying, oh, he's such a great debater. Oh, Ted Cruz is just a master performer. No, he's not. No, he's not. And I think that the sort of shine of Ted Cruz started to sort of dull last night. And I want to jump to the Jeb Bush clip where he talks about the witness protection program, right? Because I think Jeb Bush had a pretty good night. Not a great night, but he had a pretty good night. And he made the point, let's play the clip.
Everybody else was in the witness protection program when I went after him on behalf of what the Republican cause should be. Conservative principles, believing in limited government, believing in accountability, leading by fixing the things that are broken.
Everybody's scared to take on Donald Trump, right? Everybody's too scared. They want to have that. They want to have that Donald Trump base when and if Donald Trump eventually implodes. And Ted Cruz is the worst offender of this. Ted Cruz sent out an email not that long ago saying, "My good friend Donald Trump is attacking me." And it's like, you can't have it both ways. You're either in a race against these guys to get to the White House, or he's your good friend. And you got to stop acting like you are Trump light, like you are the sane Trump. There's nothing sane about Donald Trump's policies. There's nothing sane about Ted Cruz's policies. They are very similar, and if anybody is the extreme version of these policies, it's Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is the extreme version of Donald Trump. He just hides it better because he's a politician, and Donald Trump is not. Donald Trump, by the way, had his own event for the vets last night. I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump won this round. That debate last night was boring. It showed the weakness of every candidate up there. Every one of them looked terrible. And Donald Trump does not need Fox News to win the presidency. And I'm going to tell you something. You look at these numbers in Iowa, Ted Cruz is in a free fall. All right, Quinnipiac poll, Ted Cruz was leading not that long ago. Ted Cruz, between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, Donald Trump 31, Ted Cruz 29, so that's close. CNN poll, Donald Trump 41, Ted Cruz 19. This is in Iowa. I'm going to tell you something right now. Donald Trump wins Iowa, I think it's over. Because he's going to win New Hampshire, and he's going to win South Carolina. He wins Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, ding, 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 ding. This thing is over. 866-55-PRESS is my phone number. I got to hear from you. 866-557-7377. We got a line open for you right now. Is Donald Trump running away with this? And how do you think everything played out last night between the debate and Donald Trump? My name is Peter Ogburn. Here I am sitting in for Bill Press. Join in on the fun, won't you?
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper-surveillance of the police. Their police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 27 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Big debate last night for the GOP. We're recapping that, along with the Donald Trump rally for veterans as well. How do you think this all played out? Do you think Trump is running away with the nomination? Did you watch the debate last night? Do you think there was anything worth taking away from it? Can't do this show without you, so let's hear from Jake in Eureka, California. Called 866-55-PRESS. Jake, what's up, man?
Hi, I just want to say I really do agree with you. I think if Trump wins Iowa, he's going to take New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, and then you get to March 1st, Super Tuesday. This guy might run the table. There probably won't even be a contested convention at this point if he wins Iowa. I'm
telling you, I think that's absolutely right, Jake. I mean, there's no, I honestly, look, here's the big question, right? And if this happens, you know, we'll all end up with egg on our face who think that Trump is going to actually go through with this. But will the people actually vote for Trump? Will the people who say that they like him actually vote for him? And if they do, and he wins Iowa, it's over. I think it's over because New Hampshire polling shows him way up. He's way up in South Carolina, Nevada. You're right. He runs the table. It's going to be a wave of Trump, and there's no stopping him. And he doesn't need Fox News to do it. He proved that last night. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Peter Ogburn for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
My mother smiles over red wine that she drinks out of a measuring glass. She says she doesn't deprive herself, but I've learned to find nuance in every movement of her fork, in every crinkle in her brow as she offers me the uneaten pieces on her plate. I've realized she only eats dinner when I suggest it. I wonder what she does when I'm not there to do so. Maybe this is why my house feels bigger each time I return. It's proportional. As she shrinks, the space around her seems increasingly vast. She wanes while my father waxes. His stomach has grown round with wine, late nights, oysters, poetry, a new girlfriend who was overweight as a teenager, but my dad reports now she's crazy about fruit. It was the same with his parents. As my grandmother became frail and angular, her husband swelled to red, round cheeks, rotund stomach, and I wonder if my lineage is one of women shrinking, making space for the entrance of men into their lives, not knowing how to fill it back up once they leave. I have been taught accommodation. My brother never thinks before he speaks. I have been taught to filter. How can anyone have a relationship to food, he asks, laughing, as I eat the black bean soup I chose for its lack of carbs. I want to say we come from difference, Jonas. You have been taught to grow out. I have been taught to grow in. You learn from our father how to emit, how to produce, to roll each thought off your tongue with confidence. You used to lose your voice every other week from shouting so much. I learned to absorb. I took lessons from our mother in creating space around myself. I learned to read the knots in her forehead while the guys went out for oysters. And I never meant to replicate her, but spend enough time sitting across from someone and you pick up their habits. That's why women in my family have been shrinking for decades. We all learned it from each other, the way each generation taught the next how to knit, weaving silence in between the threads, which I can still feel as I walk through this ever-growing house. Skin itching, picking up all the habits my mother has unwittingly dropped, like bits of crumpled paper from her pocket on her countless trips, from bedroom to kitchen to bedroom again. Nights I hear her creep down to eat plain yogurt in the dark, a fugitive stealing calories to which she does not feel entitled. Deciding how many bites is too many, how much space she deserves to occupy. Watching the struggle, I either mimic or hate her, and I don't want to do either anymore, but the burden of this house has followed me across the country. I asked 5 questions in genetics class today, and all of them started with the word sorry. I don't know the capstone requirements. That's not good. I don't know the capstone requirements for the sociology major because I spent the whole meeting deciding whether or not I could have another piece of pizza. A circular obsession I never wanted, but inheritance is accidental. Still staring at me with wine-soaked lips from across the kitchen table.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way. It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
Bill is actually big into kissing babies, shaking hands. I'm more of a shaking babies, kissing hands kind of guy. Shaboy, Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press today, 33 minutes past the hour. The debate last night is my everything. It has consumed me because I really, really, really wanted to see how this whole thing would play out between Donald Trump with his own rally and the GOP debate, all of it taking place in Iowa last night. Now, what's beautiful to me, what's just gorgeous, was watching those two losers, those two nerds, Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum, taking part in the little JV debate and then going over to the Donald Trump event. Hey, Donald, happy to ride your coattails, buddy. They knew what was up.
Well, Rick Santorum refused to stand in front of the Trump podium. He would not be photographed. That's how
pretty
Rick
good.
Santorum would say it.
Yeah.
He would not be photographed in front of the podium.
I mean, at this point, like, we've already determined what kind of whore he is. Now we're just haggling over price. You know what I mean? Like, come on, Rick. You showed up to the event. Get behind the podium. Come on. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. I got a lot of other audio I want to play. I'll do that in just a moment. I also got some comments on Twitter. Psy Guy says, it's hard to admit it, but I think Trump played this brilliantly. His boycott focused attention and hard questions at Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz lost that debate last night. Phil weighs in, says, I was the big winner last night. I didn't watch any of the damn debate or the Trump event. Yeah, I guess you win, Phil. That's actually a good point. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number, 866-557-7377. Let's go to Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. What's up, Joe?
Hey, I just want to preface my statements with this, that I would not vote for any of those Republicans, but as a combat veteran, I'm a bit more charitable towards Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum for their appearance, and I can't even really fault Trump or absolutely assert that it was a crass political stunt. I mean, you can't. I don't double guess people's attempts to help veterans. But absolutely, everyone on the right is way too hawkish. All of them would have 50,000 troops back in Iraq in a heartbeat.
Look, Donald Trump wants to throw more American lives at ISIS. He wants to start wars. He's talking about Iran. I mean, you talk about a guy who supports the troops in one side of his mouth and wants to throw them into harm's way at the earliest possible chance out of the other side of his mouth. That's who Donald Trump is. By the way, we are a full-service radio show, TV show. We do everything. Adria weighing in on Twitter, she asks, Reagan didn't win Iowa or New Hampshire, so why would it be over if Trump did? Just asking. It's a good question. So here's your answer. The thing is, Iowa and New Hampshire are the hard ones for Trump to win, right? You look at every other state, and it's not even close. You look at a national level, and Trump is like 30 points ahead of the second place. So Iowa and New Hampshire are big hurdles for him to get over. He gets over those hurdles, it's a downhill race for him, while it's an uphill race for everybody else. You look at Jeb Bush, who continues to struggle. You look at Marco Rubio, who continues to struggle. Ted Cruz can possibly give him a run for his money in the South. But let's not forget, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are pretty close. And if you're going to vote for Donald Trump, what is it that's going to get you to change to vote to Ted Cruz? So that's why I say I think it's over. I think he's got the momentum big time. So that's why I say that. And I appreciate your comment. We are on Twitter at BP Show. BP Show. Chandler is in Palm Springs, California. Up early or up late, but always good to hear from you. Chandler, what's your take?
Yeah, 3 a.m. Listen, Peter, thank you for calling attention to the fact that Ted Cruz is totally inept. I think he's completely unimpressive. I agree with you. But also, Donald Trump didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched all of it reluctantly, but he doesn't say anything. He says the same things all the time, and it's all about him. We all know that. What is impressive about these people? These are horrible, horrible people.
That is the perfect summation of last night. These are horrible, horrible people. I think Donald Trump is horrible. I think Ted Cruz is horrible. I think Marco Rubio is horrible. I think Jeb Bush is just sad, frankly. I think Jeb Bush is, he's just Jeb.
She's right, though, about Trump. He really said nothing last night. And it was disappointing because, for those of us who didn't want to watch the debate and watch that sideshow.
That's true.
There was nothing.
That's true. But at the same time, When does Donald Trump say anything?
I'm not saying he had to say anything of
No,
substance.
I do hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But this
We've
is right
lowered
out
the bar that far.
This is right out of the Trump playbook. Right? It's all throwing around slogans. We're going to make America great again. Okay. All right. Cool slogan, bro. Let's go to Mike in Asheville, North Carolina. Shout out Asheville. What's up, Mike? 880 The Revolution, our good station there.
Yeah, as far as Donald Trump, I think he played Fox News like a radio. I mean, he purposely pushed him aside, and though he wasn't covered by Fox News last night, every other news station in America was talking all about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So he got 4 for the price of 1. That is a politically genius move. Now, I'm not saying he's the best candidate.
No.
But he is.
None of our
in his corner for the money.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly, Mike. Yeah, none of us are saying he's the right candidate, but it is something to behold to watch a candidate who is bigger than Fox News, who's not crawling on their knees to go lick the shoes of Roger Ailes, right? And I'm going to tell you something else. In this fight between Donald Trump and Fox News, Trump is right. Trump he has a legitimate beef with Fox News. The way that they wrote this sort of tongue-in-cheek response to Trump about what a Trump presidency would look like, poking fun and making fun, that's not their job. That's our job, right? That's not their job. They're not in the business of making fun of Donald Trump and what his presidency might look like, right? They call themselves fair and balanced. They got to give everybody a fair shake. I don't care if you like their policies or dislike their policies. He's running for president, and he's the front runner. Everybody else is behind Donald Trump. Pause.
They're not in any position to stoke a fire.
No!
Is really the bottom line.
No! Like, this is not their job. So Donald Trump said, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you that I'm bigger than you. And he is. He's bigger than Fox News. I love it. And meanwhile, I keep saying this, Ted Cruz needs Donald Trump in his life. Ted Cruz needed him on the debate stage. Last night, I want to play the 2 clips where Marco sort of leaned in on Ted Cruz. The first one where he talks about the defense spending, because we've seen Marco and Ted Cruz go at a little bit. I think Marco Rubio polished his attacks a little bit more last night, and he got a real blow in on Ted Cruz.
The only budget that Ted has ever voted for is a budget that Rand Paul sponsored that brags about cutting defense spending.
Boom. Right? Ted Cruz had a horrible response to that. Marco Rubio, again, laying into Ted Cruz, calling him Trump light, or saying he's just trying to, as he says, Trump.
You want to Trump on immigration, but you can't. We're not going to beat Hillary Clinton with someone who's willing to say or do anything to win an election.
Go ahead, Senator Cruz.
I mean, that is how I think everybody sees politicians on that stage, right? The Republicans. And Ted Cruz's whole shtick, and it is shtick, this whole time has been, I'm a different kind of politician. I'm going to break up the Washington cartel and all this garbage. And it is exactly that. It's garbage. And we shone a light, I should say Fox News shone a light through his BS last night and showed what a weak candidate he is. 43 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. We've got a loaded show coming up. Up next, we're going to be talking to the Director of Political and State Campaigns at Hillary for America. We're going to see how Hillary is doing and a lot of other good stuff coming up. So please stay with us, won't you?
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 47 minutes past the hour here on this Friday, January 29th, 2016. Well, we just cooked right through January, didn't we? I mean, geez, that was quick. And it is the weekend before the Iowa caucuses. This is exciting. I am genuinely excited that we've now finally gotten to the point where we're going to have some action. These things are going to start moving. They're going to start moving quick. So it's time for us to stop and talk to Director of Political and State Campaigns at Hillary for America, Marlon Marshall, joins us on the line. Marlon, good morning. Thanks for being here.
I couldn't agree more. January just flew by.
It really did, right? Like, we're going to come back to work next week, and it's going to be February, and before you know it, and I know you know this as well as anybody, it's going to be November 2016.
It's going to fly by. It's been flying by already. It's been great.
So let's start off in Iowa. How you looking? You go in?
Yes, we are feeling great. Since day one, we were expecting a competitive race, so that's why we invested in the ground game early on. We have an organization, all 1,681 precincts in Iowa. And we're going to be ready to go on Monday. It's going to be a close race, but we're ready to go. Feeling great.
A lot of times these things really do come down to things as small as like weather. How's the weather looking on Monday? I know you know. I know guys like you don't leave anything to chance. I know you know what the weather's going to be.
Well, I'm also born and raised St. Louis, which is close to Iowa.
Okay.
So I know how cold it is this time of year, but I think it's the last I saw was looking like it could be a little bit cold, a little bit snowy. But look, that's also why you build an organization. I think our supporters know the urgency around the caucus and want to show up for Hillary, and they're going to be there no matter what.
So you moving on past Iowa, you got New Hampshire, you got South Carolina, you got Nevada, you got all these states coming up. Are you all expecting a long primary, or how do you see this playing out?
Well, I'll say we're ready for a long primary. So, we've had organizations in those the first 4 states since last April. We've expanded out since then as well, too. We have staff in every Super Tuesday state. So we're ready for a long primary. I think, one of the things I've learned across this campaign, you can't really put stock into some of the polls. Just in the last week, you saw us up in New Hampshire by 3 points in a public poll and down by 27. So
yeah,
you gotta be ready for whatever.
The polls this time around have been eye-opening. Like some of you, it'll take you back. Just the numbers on both for the Democrats and for the Republicans. I want to ask you a little bit, speaking of the Republicans, about sort of a theme that's emerging. It certainly emerged last night in the debate of just about every candidate took their opportunity to say something about the Hillary Clinton candidate, right?
Yeah.
As Hillary Clinton as a candidacy, and for Republicans, it almost seems like it's over and done with. How do you all sort of embrace that coming from Republicans?
Well, I think it's clear that Republicans don't want to run against Hillary Clinton, which is why in I think every single debate that they've had, you've seen very similar things that they've been talking about. And look, the secretary's had one clear purpose for running for office since we started this campaign: ensure we build on the progress we've made as a nation, so that families across the country can get ahead and stay ahead, and not let Republicans rip the other way. And so it says something when literally everyone always comments on her in every single debate.
Yeah, it really does go that way. Hey, I want to ask you about this meeting that Secretary Hillary Clinton had in Philadelphia earlier this week. Tell me about that.
So she met with nearly 50 faith leaders from across the country. It was at Mother Bethel AME Church in Philadelphia. And, it was really just about to discuss some issues that are very important to the African-American community and how they can partner together across the country. And got a chance to talk about, the situations that we have in Flint, Michigan, criminal justice reform, the economic situation in the African-American community, and how, these are powerful leaders who are anchors in their community, and to hear directly from them about issues that affect their community, really helps us think through what are the policies we need to continue to talk about as this campaign moves forward.
It's important stuff, and it's also a good reminder that these AME churches and these African-American churches in this country are, especially when you look at what happened last year in Charleston, these are holy. Yeah. This is holy ground, man. And and it's a good reminder of those. I also love the names of some of these churches, by the way. The Holy Ghost Full Gospel Church.
Yeah.
I've been in plenty of black churches in my life. I love it. I love it. The Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in Dallas, Texas, and Mother Bethel. It's good to know y'all are out there, and I appreciate the update. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right, Marlon Marshall, the Director of Political and State Campaigns at Hillary for America. A little update there. So we're going to keep on keeping on here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces, Alzheimer's, has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. Hi there. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. We're going to talk more about the debate coming up, but y'all, I got to talk about this. Jamie Benson pulled the audio to end all audio last night this morning because last night on CBS, our good friend Major Garrett talked to Jeb Bush. And he talked about Jeb's struggles, and just listen to how listen to how Jeb defended himself.
Jeb Bush, running in the back of the pack here, still clings to hope.
Can Jeb Bush be a surprise story here on caucus night?
Yes, since the expectations are so low.
Well, you have succeeded there, Governor.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, he says. Mission accomplished, says Jeb Bush, brother of George W. Bush. He said mission accomplished. Oh. Peak Jeb. Mission accomplished. I mean, he might as well have said, well, we continue to fight against Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. They're a regular axis of evil. Or, well, the American public clearly misunderestimated me.
There's so many things wrong with this clip. Let me break it down.
Go ahead.
Number one, the expectations are so low.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding us.
Yeah, thank you.
Number two, long pause in between that and saying mission accomplished.
Plenty of time to reconsider and put careful care and thought into the words that are about to fall out of that hole under your nose. And the words you come up with are mission accomplished. Beautiful. Beautiful. But brother of George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, mission accomplished. Although that being said, Jebby had a decent debate last night. I'm gonna give him a little credit. The decent debate. We're gonna talk about the debate when we come back from this very short break here at the top of the hour. And I want to talk about Donald Trump. I want to put a very simple question out to you. Who won the night? Who won the night? Donald Trump or the GOP debate at Fox News? That is the question to you. 866-55-PRESS. Very brief break. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Shorter month ahead.
And we've got the short month of February, then you're into March. Yeah, I'm ready, man. Get me out of this winter. I love winter typically, like I do love winter, but this thing with the snow. Kids have been out of school for over a week now, by the way. I got to tell you something. Even the kids, so like they had last Friday off because that's the day we had the storm come in. So they just canceled school because they knew the storm was coming. They were out Monday, Tuesday. I thought maybe Wednesday they'd go back to school. Then I thought for sure they'd go back yesterday. But no.
So what you're telling me is you have reopened Camp Dad.
Camp Dad is in full effect. Yesterday during the show, I got a text from one of my children who was like, "Dad, please come home. We got to get out of the house." Like they just been in the house. Because it's not you could go out. I mean, we gone sledding and all that stuff, and they're hanging out with their friends. But like, you know, we can't. You can't go out on like walks. We can't go like you can't just go hang out. You know, somewhere. We live close to a bunch of good parks and stuff. Can't do any of that stuff.
Can't go smoke cigarettes in the parking lot.
That's what Magnus does.
Have a couple 40s.
That's what Magnus
right.
does. Is he goes out and plays
hardcore.
dice and smokes cigarettes out in the parking lot. So they got another day off. God, if they don't, I mean, they got to have school next week. If they don't have school next week, I'm gonna freak out. To be fair, there is a lot of snow on the ground, right? Like the problem that I'm having now is because nobody else, SIP drives, but nobody else here really drives into work. I guess Ray drives in, but like you come to an intersection or like a stop sign, and these snowbanks are like 7 feet tall and they jut out into the road, so you can't tell who's coming. You can't. I mean, driving is insane. So you got to like poke your head out with your car, like out into the middle of the roadway. It's harrowing is what it is. Anyway, we could be all right. We could be fine.
The mean streets of Germantown, Maryland.
That's right, dude. That's right. Moco. It's just Sip laughing at. God. So my favorite thing on the internet these days is there's a rapper, B.O.B. All right? Jamie, can you tell us who B.O.B. Can you give us a little backstory on B.O.B.?
I can, because I met B.O.B. when we were both 18 years old.
Look at this.
We were the same age.
So this was last year?
This was last year. I was fresh-faced, straight out of high school. No, B.O.B. came to prominence probably, I guess, 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about 18. I'm
yeah,
26
he's been
now.
around for a while.
Had a couple big hits, was really hip-hop first. He can play the guitar now, and now he's more pop, right?
Yeah.
He's got the song Nothing on You, which was really, really big with Bruno Mars. And
he's out of my, like, I'm out of the demo.
I think this week he decided that he wasn't getting enough attention. He needed to be relevant again. So what better way to be relevant again than come out on social media and make a fool of yourself?
He's fighting with people online. He's fighting with people who are telling him that the world, Earth, planet Earth, is round. He's fighting with people over this. He's convinced that the world is flat. And this, to me, is the funniest thing. Like, it's so great. Because he is, like, vehemently denying that the world is round. On Twitter, have you been to the edge, or is that what your science book told you? Is one of the tweets he sent out. No matter how high in elevation you are, the horizon is always eye level. Sorry, cadets. I didn't want to believe it either. That's my favorite. You can regurgitate force-fed information all day. Still doesn't change physics. Like, no.
Can I tell you what the big problem is?
Go ahead. Oh, there are a lot of problems.
But
go ahead.
Maybe needing a lobotomy. There are people that follow me.
Yeah.
How many followers does he have? Do you have his Twitter account?
I don't have it open right
I would
here,
guess it's over 1 million.
It's over 1 million, I'd bet.
Go to some of the accounts of the folks that he's retweeting.
Oh my God.
Normal Americans, right?
Yeah.
Teenagers, folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever.
Yeah.
They believe him.
Oh,
they are gullible enough to believe him, and that's the big problem.
Is that crazy?
You have that huge reach. You tell people the world is flat. That's a pretty good chance of
2.3 million.
Yeah, 2.3 million followers. Probably maybe like 500,000 of those are active. Maybe 10% of those believe him. That's a big number.
That's a big number. There's a picture of him standing at the top of a mountain, and there's like the horizon sort of behind him. He says, the cities in the background are approximately 16 miles apart. Where's the curve? Please explain this. So he continues to tweet, right? Like, since all mass media wants to make me look crazy and drag me through the mud, make sure you mention the cloning centers I talked about. What?
I want him to
B.O.B. No.
Give us a little vlog, right? Do a little documentary.
Please
take us to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
And dangle the arm over the side of the earth. Whatever you want to do. You prove that to me. All right.
Fine.
Good. Cool.
Listen to these tweets that all came in succession here. They want me to be a good little rapper and sing and dance and don't question things. I'm going up against the greatest liars in history. You've all been tremendously deceived. No, I'm not crazy. Yes, I'm feeling fine. No, I'm not doing anything stronger than weed. Am I doing this to promote my music? No.
But you are.
But you are. Now, who better? Now, if I had to pick someone to just completely deflate B.O.B.'s arguments, who would you get? You know who I would get? I would get Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I would get Kanye, but...
Well, there is Kanye, who went on a weird little tweet storm of his own this morning.
This is a great week for Twitter.
Twitter, every time that a week like this happens with Twitter, I just stop and I sit back and I just go, Twitter's free. Twitter's free.
We are blessed.
Twitter is free.
Blessed.
We live in a time where we get this type of entertainment for nothing.
And all these people, all these journalists are writing their think pieces about how they're quitting Twitter.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Get out of here. Twitter's the greatest thing maybe ever. Maybe ever. All right, so Neil deGrasse Tyson, who might have the biggest brain on the planet, which is round, went on the nightly show with Larry Wilmore and dropped a little science for Bob, B.O.B.
All right, listen, B.O.B., once and for all. The Earth looks flat because, one, you're not far enough away at your size. Two, your size isn't large enough relative to Earth to notice any curvature at all. Wow. It's a fundamental fact of calculus and non-Euclidean geometry. Small sections of large curved surfaces will always look flat to little creatures that crawl upon it. But this...
Damn! He dropped the non-Euclidean geometry on him. I can't even say it.
I can attest. B.O.B. is a small man. Having met him in person.
How small?
I'd probably say he's...
Because you're what? You're like 5'3".
Yeah, no, I'm 5'3.5" on a good day.
I'm kidding.
No, okay, so I'm 5'11". B.O.B.'s probably 5'5".
Ooh, he's a tiny man.
He's a tiny man.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson put him right where he needed to be.
He dropped that mic. He drops the mic. At the
Literally dropped
the mic.
I love it.
Which is my favorite thing ever. You drop a mic, you win my approval.
Yeah. Drop the mic after dropping some science on him. Okay. I love that. And I just, for God's sake, people, Twitter is just the greatest. All right, so let's talk about this debate last night, because there was a debate last night and there was a rally for the vets with Donald Trump. And I've been saying all week long, because we sort of built up to this of whether or not Donald Trump was going to show up to the debate or not. And early on this week, I said Donald Trump is going to show up at the debate, and I was wrong. Donald Trump took it very, very seriously and put together this rally, this event to support veterans, which good for him. I don't want to question his motives, because if you're doing anything for the vets, it's good, I think. But, it really highlighted a couple of things for me last night, watching how this all played out. It drove home the fact that Donald Trump is bigger than Fox News. He's bigger than the Republican Party. He is a force of nature. And I don't think that, hell, he could say, I'm not showing up to any more debates, and I still think he'd win the nomination. Because Donald Trump is not, these are not his people, right? These people who watch debates, they're not his people. And it was painful to watch the Republicans try and trudge along without Donald Trump last night. I have to tell you, Ted Cruz, the master debater, right? The champion debater, the man who everyone is scared to debate. He came off like a loser, a total loser last night. He tried to be funny, which is not his strong suit, by the way. The guy, first of all, his appearance is just his presence on stage is just like a burlap sack that someone just dumped a bunch of oatmeal into and propped up behind a podium. He's like impossible to look at, this guy, and like just took a knife and carved a fake smile into. He's impossible to look at. But I wanted that one where he talked about the mean question, Jamie, where he said he didn't want to get any mean questions. Play that.
Well, no, a debate actually is a policy issue, but I will say this, gosh, if you guys ask one more mean question, I may have to leave the stage.
There goes another impression again.
Yeah.
Stop.
If you guys ask another mean question, oh gosh. And by the way, the crowd was like kind of into it, but like they didn't, it's not funny, and he didn't score any major big points there. Okay, Donald Trump left the debate. Wow, doesn't he look silly? He's got his own event across town that two of the presidential candidates begged to be a part of, Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum. So I think Cruz had a bad night. I think Ted Cruz had a bad night at the worst possible time, because the Iowa caucus is in 3 days. And he needed to have a good debate, and he did not have a good debate. Jeb, by the way, also bringing into the pointing out that Donald Trump wasn't there. The teddy bear clip, Jamie, where he talked about how he sort of viewed Donald Trump.
I kind of miss Donald Trump. He was a little teddy bear to me. We always had such a loving relationship during these debates and in between, and the tweets. I kind of miss him. I wish he was here.
And to Jeb's credit, by the way, he stood up to Donald Trump in these debates, and a lot of these yahoos didn't, right? Ted Cruz just sat there on his knees licking his boot heel because he's too scared to part with Donald Trump, and Jeb made that point.
Everybody else was in the witness protection program when I went after him on behalf of what the Republican cause should be. Conservative principles, believing in limited government, believing in accountability, leading by fixing the things that are broken.
By the way, Jeb also sort of got into it with a couple of different candidates. He got into it with Marco Rubio over immigration. He defended his family a little bit. But I want to play that Ben Carson clip because remember that guy? Ben Carson, a.k.a. Ben Barson, with his foreign policy chops? Go ahead, play that clip because
Putin is a one-horse country.
Putin is a one-horse country.
Putin is a one-horse country.
Nailed it. Ben Barson. That's all he's got.
To be fair, Putin has been photographed riding a horse.
On a horse.
With no shirt on.
This is true.
So, Ben Carson's brain, even though he's supposed to be performing on other people's brain, it just works differently.
That's a very good point.
Word association.
That's a very good point. I want to play the Donald Trump where he talked about respecting himself because he talked about why he did this separate event. He wanted to, as he make a point that he's not going to be pushed around by Fox.
We had less than 24 hours to do this because I said, listen, I'm not going to do the debate out of respect for myself. I won't do it.
Yeah. And Fox News really, I think, did a disservice to themselves by talking smack about Donald Trump and trying to make jokes about him. So here's the central question to you. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Who won last night? Who won the debate? Because I think the person who won the debate wasn't even on the debate stage. Donald Trump won that debate last night. He won the debate by not even being there and having his own event and proving that he's got the leverage. He doesn't have to go and kiss the ass of Fox News. He doesn't have to go and suck up and be nice to Megyn Kelly. He can do whatever he wants. Who won last night? Donald Trump, Fox News, Ted Cruz? You tell me. 866-55-PRESS. Quick break. Be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light, it's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The only thing we can do is have the people finally rise up and say, we're not going to take it anymore, and make sure that our voice is going to be heard.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It was another debate last night, and I have to say, without Donald Trump, it was a little bit boring. But it was the same old thing of ripping into the media, making dumb jokes. Ted Cruz was back on his heels last night. Megyn Kelly really threw him a couple of hardballs that he was not ready for, and it looked he didn't look so good up there on stage. Taking your calls on this at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Who won the debate last night? Was it Ted Cruz? Was it Jebe? I say it was Donald Trump, who wasn't even at the debate last night. He won by not going because he showed who's got the power. Keith in Shorewood, Wisconsin. Keith, thanks for calling.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Keith.
First off, Ted Cruz, by and large, is my least favorite of those candidates. The guy looks sweaty and unswithed. He reminds me of a megachurch preacher. And if you're looking for comparisons, to me, the guy looks like Ed Grimley.
Oh, man, that's so good. That's a good call, Keith. Yeah.
In terms of who won, Trump pulled it off by doing something different, and that always helps you stick out. But I got to tell you, Peter, he may have won the battle in this case, but for me, he definitely lost the war. I was driving home from a meeting last night, and I was listening to him on MSNBC, and as he went on and on and on about himself, he began to remind me of, when you take a transcontinental flight or you're at a party and some guy sidles up to you.
That guy.
And starts talking about themselves, and it's like, you smile, you nod your head, but after 15, 20 minutes of that, you just wanted to shut up.
We all know that guy. We've all met that guy. Yeah, that Trump guy who just will not shut up when you most want them to. That's a good call, Keith. I like that. Thank you very much. And you hit, this might be petty, all right, but I'm going to be petty. Ted Cruz, just like body language and appearance, just is not the kind of guy that I could ever see being president. George W. Bush, right? Like, I go get hammered with George Bush. I think he'd be a fun guy to hang out and watch a game with. Maybe one of the worst presidents we've ever had, but affable, right? Ted Cruz, no way, man. Did you see at the end of the debate last night when everybody has to go sort of like do that little dance where you like shake hands with all the other candidates? Did you see everybody run from Cruz? Chris Christie turned his back on Ted Cruz when he tried to talk to him. The only person that would do it was poor Jeb. Poor Jeb.
Ted Cruz, no new friends.
No new friends. Coming up, Emily Crockett from Vox joins us. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
QL1. The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
Crime Advisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada! What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that crimeadvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow, crimeadvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
crimeadvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies in Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. Happy Friday, January 29th, 2016. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Make sure you're following the show on Twitter at BP Show. You can follow me at Peter Ogburn, and you can follow our guest, Emily Crockett. She's a gender reporter for Vox, at Emily Crockett with 2 T's at the end. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always love having you in studio. Jamie knows. I must confess, Emily has the greatest voice.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you.
Like, when you come in, I just want to, like, curl up and take a nice warm nap inside your voice. It's the greatest thing, right?
Yes, well, I did train as an opera singer, so that's, like, how that goes, I guess.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Please keep talking.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
Oh, my God.
Two great voices on the show.
Now,
Emily's a great voice on the show.
Yes. Oh, am I still talking? Am I still just, like, speaking? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So your voice is wonderful. Congressman John Yarmouth, Jamie pointed out. Also, I love that guy's voice. I just like having good voices on the show. So you're one of them. I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. So we've been talking about the debate. You've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've been talking about the debate, and you wrote a little bit about one of the debate moderators, Megyn Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a weird week for Megyn Kelly because Donald Trump said he's not going to participate in the debate because of Megyn Kelly, because of the way that she's directed some of her criticism towards him, the way that she's written about him in this memo, and things that she said at the earlier debate. It's a whole thing. There's no love lost between these two. I think that Megyn Kelly has probably done the best job as a debate moderator that we've seen so far from the Republican side. That being said, I don't have the whole love affair that a lot of people have with Megyn Kelly. I think that she's still kind of xenophobic.
Oh yeah,
and
totally
has some problems. So every time anyone talks about what a great anchor she is, I don't necessarily buy it. However, she is certainly not deserving of the treatment that she got this week, which you have written about for Vox. How are people treating Megyn Kelly?
Horribly, just about as you would expect. The online masses who follow Donald Trump to react to a woman if a woman's name is mentioned even. It's pretty much like just wasps swarming on bees, honey. I don't know. It's bad. It is some of the worst aspects of human nature just coming out and just spewing all over womankind. You have just your typical Twitter trolls, but on steroids, and they're Trump supporters. These are the kinds of people who will sometimes just beat up some protesters who happen to be with Black Lives Matter.
You should have been here.
Yeah, and those protesters just happen to be black, and Trump says, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." I guess when pressed, he will actually condemn it, but he's not really been good about actually doing that.
I think that when you have that element that follows you, you've got to sort of police it a little bit better. And, Donald Trump is not good at that.
No.
In fact, he tweeted earlier this week, "I'm not going to call Megyn Kelly a bimbo," which, by the way, stop right there. You just called her a bimbo.
You just called her a bimbo. You're trying to have your cake and hate it too.
I'm not going to call her a bimbo because it would be politically incorrect, but she's a bad journalist. That was the gist of his tweet.
There's just so many wrong things going there at once, and I just can't really unpack them all. Yeah.
I mean, once you put that out there, you unleash your army of hate nerds.
Yeah.
Who are just itching at the opportunity to bash a woman.
Exactly. It's like saying, Peter, I'm not saying you're an asshole.
Right. Yeah. But you are totally, I can't. Yeah,
but you're just kind of a jerk, which, disclaimer, Peter's not a jerk.
Well, depends.
Yeah, it depends. Only the lovable kind.
That's right.
But it is vicious. And here's the thing, Trump doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give any fucks at all.
Yeah.
He is the honey badger candidate.
The honey badger candidate.
He is a honey badger candidate. And that is part of what this, literally he was saying that he could shoot a guy and not be, that is honey badger.
Yeah. It's not good.
No.
It's not good. And so, it's this general thing. It gets back to what I was just saying. When you have those type of supporters, right? There is a responsibility that comes.
There is a responsibility that would require being a responsible candidate or citizen, which obviously Trump isn't. He has no interest in civic responsibility or anything with sort of integrity. He is interested in image. He is interested in, and he's really good at that. He's really good at image. He's really good at manipulating the media and putting on a show, but he doesn't really actually care about much beyond that.
So, and a lot of this comes from the first debate where Megyn Kelly, a powerful woman, questioned Donald Trump on his history of sexism.
Oh, yeah.
And saying bad, horrible things about women. Which
Lots of horrible things.
His defense was, I only said it about Rosie O'Donnell.
Which is complete lie.
It's not true.
It's a lie.
It's just not true.
Have you seen the portrait? There's someone who did a portrait of Donald Trump made entirely of all the offensive things he has said.
Oh, God.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think my colleague Dara Lynn wrote a post about it at Vox also. But yeah,
that's great.
It's great.
That's pretty great.
Because that's how many of these offensive things he said.
But that also is how far back this goes with Trump and Megyn Kelly. And certainly Megyn Kelly's not deserving of any of
she's
this.
not.
It's crazy. Okay, so glad we got that out of the way because we're going to scratch the surface here about the Planned Parenthood thing, and then we got to take a break.
Yeah.
But catch me up to speed on this Planned Parenthood story because we've heard in the debates some candidates referencing these Planned Parenthood videos, these evil, horrible videos, right? Horrible. And turns out,
yeah, they're lies. So where do you want me to start?
Well, let's start with sort of just get us caught up on like where this whole thing began.
Okay.
And sort of where we came this week, right?
Yeah. So this whole thing started this summer with these videos that came out that claimed that Planned Parenthood sells baby parts. And, you know, translating that from pro-life speak, that means that they were selling fetal tissue for profit, which is illegal. Now, that's not actually happening. There's no evidence that that's actually happening. There have been multiple state and federal investigations that have turned up absolutely bupkis. Some states have even refused to investigate because there was no evidence. There were very few clinics that were even participating in fetal tissue research, which, by the way, is very important for science and medicine and cures like polio vaccines and other things. So, yeah, there's no evidence this was true, but that doesn't really matter to the sort of pro-life supporters. And really what it's less about whether Planned Parenthood has broken any laws and more about validating their moral view that Planned Parenthood is immoral. So they think that Planned Parenthood is literally slaughtering children, but they know that most Americans don't agree that that's what abortion is because, you know, a woman has to be able to decide whether she remains pregnant or not. And pregnancy is no joke. So, but they want to bring Americans to their moral perspective, and they think that the way to do that is to show them more, you know, gross out fetus footage under the guise of an undercover video investigation, of a sting operation, that, oh, they're going to show you something Planned Parenthood doesn't want you to know. Yeah. They think that abortion is immoral. They think Planned Parenthood is, you know, this evil corporation that profits off the suffering of women and children. And so now they know that most Americans don't think that, because, I mean, I went to Planned Parenthood. Most women I know have gone to Planned Parenthood. We love Planned Parenthood. It's a good healthcare organization, whether or not you have sought an abortion there, and if you have sought an abortion there, that is your right. It's an important service.
The whole attack is a lie directed at white dudes, or just dudes in general, right? Because like,
or women too. There are lots of pro-life women.
Sure, yeah. But like a lot of women know that, like what Planned Parenthood does. There are a lot of guys who just don't.
Sure. And there are a lot, but although I tell you, I know a lot of women who demonize Planned Parenthood too, and they've probably never been there. But here's the thing, I can't tell you how many clinic workers I've talked to who say that, you know, some of those abortion clinic protesters will come in sometimes for an abortion because the only moral abortion is my abortion. Now, sick. Yeah, it's pretty gross. So these videos came out. They were propaganda. They were designed to take down Planned Parenthood. They did a lot of damage. Yeah. They were complete bupkis, but they did a lot of damage. We've had inquiries. We've had millions of dollars of taxpayer money, all told, being spent on investigations that have turned up nothing. Yeah. And also, you know, Planned Parenthood has, they were taking, you know, legal compensation for the extra, you know, staff time that it would take to prepare these tissue samples. Now they're not even doing that. So they were probably losing money on it before, and now they're losing even more money. And this is like 2 or 3 clinics across the entire country that even do this. But frankly, more should be participating because this is important research. Yeah, exactly. And this has probably taken this research that could find a cure for Alzheimer's, for God's sake. It's taken this kind of research back decades.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
This whole thing drives me crazy.
It's real bad.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break because we're right up against the time. But I want to. This reached a very interesting conclusion earlier this week, and I want to talk about it with you, Emily Crockett from Vox. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogden, sitting in for Bill Press today. Very, very quick break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 47 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today, along with our guest, Emily Crockett from Vox. You can follow her on Twitter at Emily Crockett with 2 T's at the end of Crockett. Make sure you do that. Excellent follow on Twitter.
Thank you.
And we're talking about Planned Parenthood. So when we last spoke, Emily, before the break, we were talking about the interesting turn that this grand jury took in this case that was looking into Planned Parenthood and these videos. And what exactly happened?
Yeah, so what happened is, as I was mentioning before, there are a whole bunch of investigations that have turned up absolutely nothing. One of those investigations was in Texas. And a grand jury was called to look into the allegations against Planned Parenthood, the allegations that they sold fetal tissue. Now, no Planned Parenthoods in Texas even do that. Like, they don't even do fetal tissue donation in the first place. So there's just nothing to investigate. Right. So, the grand jury is called, and the prosecutor, who is a Republican, by the way, and who is, friends with the governor and everything, probably thought that they were doing, that this would be an open and shut thing, that they've got their crony on the case. But no, not only do they clear Planned Parenthood of any wrongdoing, but they turn around and indict the people who made the videos.
That's just beautiful. I can't figure out. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I can't figure out if that's poetic or ironic. But I kind of love it. I kind of love it.
I think it actually is ironic because, the most ironic thing might be that, so there are 2 people charged, David Daleiden and Sandra Merritt, both of whom went under aliases and with fake driver's licenses when they were making these videos. Dave Daleiden is being charged with tampering with a governmental record, which basically means using a fake driver's license specifically for nefarious purposes, like with the purpose to harm, which they were trying to harm Planned Parenthood. And the other charge, this is the ironic part, is that he's being charged with trying to sell human organs or trying to buy human organs, because he was trying to entrap Planned Parenthood into agreeing to sell his fake company organs at, an exorbitant price, like $1,600 a specimen, which is just, 100 times more than anybody would ever do. And Planned Parenthood ignored him. But the fact is that he still sent these solicitations.
Dummy.
And he didn't intend to follow through with them, of course. And he probably didn't realize that it was a crime to even try to do that. But it is a crime.
It is, yeah. I mean, sorry.
And here's the thing. If you are a law enforcement official, you're allowed to commit crimes to try to catch someone else committing a crime. But if you're a private citizen, you can't do that. You can't break the law in order to try to prove that someone else is breaking the law. Now, there are some observers who are, uncomfortable with these charges, who say that they are, that this was, even though it was a bad journalistic endeavor, that it was essentially a journalistic endeavor, and that, what will this say for the, for investigative journalists who were trying to expose someone? I'm skeptical of that, because this was an elaborate scam.
Yeah. Oh,
here.
yeah.
They might also, these are not the only criminal charges they could face. They could be facing federal charges for defrauding the IRS, because they filed
this is poetry.
As a fake nonprofit.
Yeah.
They told the IRS that they were like a biomedical research company when they did nothing of the kind.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a bunch of dummies. It's just so stupid. But, part of the problem, unfortunately, I think, is a lot of damage has already been done with this type of stuff. I mentioned the debates. Carly Fiorina in an earlier debate talked about these videos, which didn't exist.
Yeah.
But it's too late.
Yeah, it's
the
too
genie's
late.
out of the bottle. So that's a bummer, obviously. But what does Planned Parenthood? Where do they go from here?
Well, Planned Parenthood has also filed a lawsuit against these guys. Yeah, and that's, they have a lot of grounds for suing. Part of it is that they breached a contract. They signed these non-disclosure agreements to get into these private conferences using, again, fake IDs. They also recorded people without their consent, which in California is illegal. So they could still face other charges, again, even in like California. And Planned Parenthood is basically suing to try to because you can sue to get, civil damages off of a criminal statute. And so that's what Planned Parenthood's trying to do in those cases. So the legal battle isn't over. National Abortion Federation is also suing because their conference was infiltrated. And those videos have not been released. They're still enjoined under a court order. But all Planned Parenthood can do at this point is just keep doing the work that it does and try to, redeem, to try to keep pushing against these guys and confirming in the public eye that they did, that they just told lies because they don't like abortion, they don't like Planned Parenthood, and that there's no real basis to it.
You know this stuff so well. I'm so glad you came in to talk to us about it. Seriously, Emily Crockett from Vox. You can follow her on Twitter at Emily Crockett and read her great work at Vox.com. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Peter.
Have a magical weekend.
I will.
I hope it's ice-free, snow-free. I hope you're staying warm and safe. All right. Thanks so much, Emily.
Thanks.
Quick break. We'll be right back here on The Bill Press Show.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like Jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root. A skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them. And I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace. The Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is the Bill Press Show. Happy Friday. Jamie
It's
Benson.
Friday, Peter.
Friday. I go back and forth. Jamie Benson, let me ask you a question. You went and saw the Bullets play last night, right?
I did.
Notice I didn't say the Wizards, I said the Bullets, because last night they were the Bullets.
They were only PA announcer, Twitter, on the scoreboard.
Scoreboard?
They were the Bullets, not the Wizards.
I kind of love that.
It was nice. I would tell you the best part of the night, obviously there was a halftime performance by go-go legend Sugar Bear.
Yeah.
And also DJ Cool, who is from D.C., had that big 1996 hit, Let Me Clear My Throat.
Let me clear my throat.
The best moment was they brought out Earl the Pearl Monroe.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
He was honored at halftime as being one of the original members of the Bullets.
Oh, that's really cool. Here's what I want to get at with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd you go with?
I went solo.
I can tell you, I'm proud of you, boy. I'm proud of you, boy.
I texted Peter earlier in the day. It was around like 5:30.
Yeah.
About 90 minutes to game time. I had no one to go. No one could go. And no one really wanted to go. The Wizards are pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
Peter said, go by yourself.
I'm telling you,
And I said, all right.
I am such a proponent of doing things by yourself. I go to the movies by myself all the time. It's the greatest. I go to sporting events by myself, like a day game, a baseball day game by myself. Oh, forget it. I'll take that over a nap any day of the week. I just go and just hang. Oh, it's the greatest.
I think there's a difference between a movie solo and a sporting event solo.
Yeah, but just the act of doing things by yourself.
But I will tell you this much. I was much more focused on the game, also had much more time to tweet. I think it worked out in the end.
I had much more time to tweet.
And I had more money to spend on myself.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to continue talking about sports up next with Lindsey Gibbs from Think Progress Sports. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, I think seeing it all stemmed from kind of the Iraq War selling, when I saw the media kind of going across party lines and realizing that it wasn't just the Republican establishment, it wasn't just the Democratic establishment, it's the entire corporate establishment that perpetuates this system and keeps it continuous by lying and by protecting itself. And when I saw that going on during the run-up to the Iraq War, I became a really focused on anti-war activism. But through that, I saw that media was a huge problem, because I was just realizing that, you can only hand out so many flyers, but if you don't have some sort of medium to tell your message and counter the establishment bullshit, then no one's gonna hear you. So I realized that I needed to get into media activism, and I guess coming from an activist roots, I never really saw any differentiation between how to be a professional journalist, and I actually didn't go to J school, which I know a lot of journalists go into the system, and they, when you are hammered so much about how to do journalism, you kind of forget how to do it. It's just kind of like art school sometimes, where you're so regimented in how to do it, and it's really old school. And right now I think that we need a new media, a new wave of media that isn't regimented in that kind of that old school way of thinking. And I don't need to look at what the State Department's telling me or these press releases from the government to know that it's bullshit, and I don't need to present their alternative, like their voices when I give my alternative perspective. I just want to say, we all know what they're saying already, so we don't need to give that, like, you know what I mean, like the both sides of the issue. And so I just go out there full force and I just say exactly what I'm thinking, and I think it's really refreshing for people to see a journalist who actually cares and is just kind of going out balls to the wall. I think it's the biggest fight that we have is media, and what you guys are doing is crucial, because those are the actors that we're listening to tell us the news. Unfortunately, in the media revolution and the renaissance of citizen journalism, there's a lot of people who say, oh, we just need to make the corporate media irrelevant, and that's true, and that's what we're doing now with building these alternatives. But the problem is, at least in America, 50% of Americans still watch the mainstream media and get their information from the mainstream. So there's only so much you can do to kind of try to change that opinion that's so ingrained with a lot of like the older generations. But I do think the younger generations are going to the internet, and I know that creation and new media content is the most important thing that we can do right now to change hearts and minds and to really perpetuate the revolution of consciousness. It's happening everywhere, but there is a problem online that we kind of, all these algorithms and stuff kind of seek to reaffirm our own biases, and we all have like different search engines that are catering our stories toward us. So we just need to be conscious of how we can still have an intake of multiple sources of information to find and formulate our own opinions, and not just keep going and validating what we already think and surrounding ourselves by people that are kind of yes men. So if we can just understand that that's happening and use the internet as a tool and a consensus building where we can reach out across different communities and people who have different opinions, but try to build that consensus while still using those alternative routes. What gives me hope is you guys. I mean, everyone here at the Zeitgeist movement, it's mind-blowing. I mean, all the people, it's like really emotional for people to come up and say that my show inspired them, and it's hard to live in DC and to be in like a studio where you're kind of enclosed and be surrounded by all these people who are like working within the system that I think is completely broken, and we can't even, you know what I mean? We can't waste our time trying to reform a system that's broken and outdated. So it's unbelievable to come outside of that bubble and to see how many people agree, how many people are already working to build their own. I mean, all of the incredible ecological transformations and technological advancements that are happening that the system just doesn't talk about because it challenges them too much. And that's what's so inspiring and motivating to me. And I just think we need to keep inspiring each other and sharing each other's messages and building each other up, because we just got to keep fighting, because we will win. We are winning. People get what's going on, and they just need the tools to figure out how they can be a part of it. Just don't give up. I know that it seems incredibly daunting. Everything completely fucked up. No matter where you look, it seems like there's nothing you can do, but there is. And I always tell people, I went the media route, but I think that whatever issue speaks to you the most, whether it be food, water, sweatshops, like the hydroponics that they were talking about and all like the agricultural revolution, that's what, just hone in on the issues that speak most to your soul And even if you're living in like some remote rural area, start a hub, start a blog, start a podcast, get on AM radio. I mean, all of these things that you can do, and go to meetup.com, because there's people who are like minds out there. As much as the establishment wants to phase out all critical thinking and alternatives, we exist and we are stronger than them, and our voices are way more powerful than those people who dictate our reality, and we need to change that reality by just creating our own, reaching out to the communities, reaching out to like minds, because we're all around. And the second that you start like meeting people in your area, they energize each other, you know, and you can inspire each other and realize, okay, you're awesome. I didn't even know that you were living right down the street. And I feel like we're so separated from people and isolated in our modern technological society that we don't even just talk to our neighbors and people like, you know, on the train and the subway and stuff, and just say, hey. And I just think that if people did that more, they would realize how much more we all have in common and how much we can all work together to really make the world a sustainable, better place.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is The Bill Press Show. Here we are on Friday, all day long, January 29th. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Lots of stuff going on. What a day it has already been with the debate recap and the recap of the Donald Trump rally. Just so much stuff. I'm glad we're finally working into like some stuff I want to talk about. All right, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about sports with Lindsay Gibbs. She is sports reporter for Think Progress. She's in studio with us. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. You can follow her on Twitter at Linz Sports, Linz Sports. It's an excellent Twitter handle, by the way.
Very creative, very creative.
We're going to be talking all things sports because Super Bowl is a week from this weekend, so we're going to get everything set up, get you ready, tell you everything you need to know about the Super Bowl with Lindsay. Running the board for us this morning is Jamie Benson. Hello, Jamie.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
He is here. He is live. He is an extremely woke young man.
On only 4 hours of sleep.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Crushing it.
He went to that basketball game last night.
Ooh.
He went to go watch the trash Wizards play the trash Nuggets.
It was a terrible matchup.
There's a lot of bad basketball happening in that building. Oof.
It was a sad night.
866-55-PRESS is our phone number, 866-557-7377. Ray Rogers is standing by to take your calls if you call that phone number. And you can watch us live on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, and Free Speech TV on DirecTV or Dish Network. And if you are watching us, that's because Cyprian Bolding is doing his job. By the way, happy birthday to Cyprian Bolding.
Happy birthday, Sip.
Yeah, Sip. Sip and I have been working together for probably like 5 years now. And Sip's a good dude. Although I got to tell you, Sip, you and I got the same problem, a little bit of the same problem. We're not getting any younger. I'm losing a little bit of my hair up top, which is kind of freaking me out a little bit. Sip's got a little more salt than pepper these days. So, but
That's what happens.
I know, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Sip carries it better than I do, though.
Well, I don't know.
All right. I'm thankful. Sip, happy birthday, buddy. All right, so Lindsay, let's jump right into some sports talk because Super Bowl is coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. It is the Denver Broncos versus the Carolina Panthers. I didn't see the Broncos getting this far. I really didn't because Peyton Manning has had an iffy season at best, right? He's an old man. He's making jokes about retiring. So I'm just going to put you on the spot right off the bat, and then we'll dig in a little bit deeper. How do you think this matchup plays out in the Super Bowl?
All right. Well, I think it's going to be a really fun matchup because Denver's defense is insanely good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they've gotten this far. And there's that old boring adage, defense wins championships.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that simple, but it's certainly a huge part of the equation, you know? And so I think that it's going to be really good because the Panthers' offense has just been explosive all year long. They've been getting out to early leads, whereas Denver's been just stifling. So I think it's a really fun matchup, and it's not like on the opposite sides of the ball you've got complete duds. I mean, Carolina's defense has been really great all year. They have some holes deep in their secondary that some teams can expose. I'm not quite sure if Peyton Manning's got the arm to expose that right now.
Right. I mean, he's got a little noodle arm right now.
Yeah, he's got a noodle arm. But you know what? I mean, I think we put too much on intangibles sometimes, but it's hard not to look at. I mean, both of these teams they've been the two best teams all year, despite the Broncos being a little shaky. So on offense, because their defense has been good enough to carry them. So I think it's actually going to be a really fun Super Bowl.
I can't remember the last time I saw a team go full video game mode the way that the Carolina Panthers have. I mean, they are just ruining good teams. Like, they ruined the Cardinals last week.
They ruined them. It was
complete destruction.
I should admit I'm a long-term Carolina Panthers fan, so it was one of the most fun times I've ever had watching.
Oh, if you're a Panther fan is having a great season.
It's been a really fun season. I mean, yeah, they do. They go into this other kind of worldly mode where it seems like there is no stopping them. I mean, they're explosive from top to bottom on their offense with players who aren't your marquee guys. So so that's why it's really fun to watch.
So the Denver defense, this is why I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people think. Yeah. I think they're not riding Peyton Manning's arm to the Super Bowl.
Exactly,
right?
Not at all.
At all.
He's a bit player in this.
He's like Trent Dilfer at this point, right?
Yeah, totally.
He's okay. He's the back. He was the backup quarterback.
He's a game manager.
Yeah,
he's a game manager.
Exactly. So that's why I think that this could actually be a little bit closer than people think. But that being said, Carolina's defense, I mean, they're no slouch either. They got a hardcore defense.
I mean, their linebackers are so good. You've got Luke Kuechly is one of the best in the league, and Thomas Davis, who just had a plate put in his arm after breaking it during the championship game.
He's going to play the Super Bowl with a broken arm.
He's going to play. I mean, if you look at his history, I mean, he's been on our team forever, and coming back from 3 ACL surgeries, he's literally one of the best guys in the NFL. He won the Walter Payton Man of the Year. So if you're looking for good guys in the NFL, if you're kind of shaded by all the bad characters, he's one you can really get behind. And after being in the league for 10 years, he's in the Super Bowl. He's not going to miss it.
Yeah.
I have to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Lindsay said "are" when describing her Carolina Panthers.
I heard that.
I know.
Now, here's the thing. I am in full support of that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people who are against me on this, including friend of the program Clinton Yates.
Yeah.
Who, big of a Washington sports fan as he is, refuses to use the word "are"
our team
when it comes to describing his team.
Good point.
You should be able to do it. When I describe my Celtics, I did it again.
Yeah.
My Celtics.
It just slips out, and I know, I'm not a beat reporter for another team or anything, so I don't feel too bad about it, I mean, and I'll sit here and tell you all day about how good the Broncos are and how good other teams are, but, I started going to the games for the Carolina games when I was they started when I was in 4th grade. So it's literally been my entire life. And I think after a season like this, you do feel personally invested in it in a probably unhealthy way.
Yeah.
You're entitled to that.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. You mentioned some of the good guys, right? Guys you could get behind. I want to get into this discussion about Cam Newton.
Ooh.
All right. Now, I just have to point out that I have a very strong dislike for Cam Newton, but I have a very good reason. I went to the University of Alabama. I am required by law to not like Cam Newton. All right? There is no way I could possibly say a nice word about Cam Newton and not have my entire family completely freak out on me. That being said, I'm getting pretty close to becoming a Cam Newton fan because of the garbage that this guy catches. So, if you're not familiar, right? If you're one of the people who watch the show, you're not familiar with Cam Newton, right? Without a doubt, he's the MVP this year, right? There's no
way.
Yeah. So Cam Newton's going to get MVP for what he's done with the Carolina Panthers. He's outspoken. He dances when he scores a touchdown. He brags when he gets a first down. He makes a spectacle out of himself, right?
Right, yeah.
And draws all this attention to himself. He's also a young black man.
Right.
So I don't want to make this all about the race of Cam Newton, but like a lot of people hate Cam Newton.
A lot of people hate Cam Newton.
A lot of people hate Cam Newton. I laid out why I have a very specific reason why I don't like Cam Newton.
I do excuse Alabama fans from this discussion.
But why do people not like Cam Newton?
I mean, I think he kind of goes against. I mean, the simple answer would be race, right? I mean, if you just want to look at race,
On its face,
let's just go straight to it.
there's some of that.
And there's definitely a lot of it. Does it intersect with a lot of other things? Do you know what I mean? With a lot of youth, a lot of culture differences. Of course, there's a lot of intersectionality there, right? As there is with any type of bias, right? It's hard to ever boil these things down to just one solitary thing. It's the way he plays the game, which is like it's an actual game.
Yeah, like it's a video game.
Like it's a video game.
100%.
I mean, and that's just, but the thing is, like, he's not showboating and like, it's just who he is. I don't know like how to really describe that, but it's just, or like, he is just like at the core of him, a big kid. He's always played like this, no matter where he's playing football. This is just how he's been. I mean, he's loved to dress up. There was a great story in ESPN magazine article about he used to get, draw way too much attention to himself in school, like in like elementary school and stuff. And his parents were like trying to figure out what to do about it because he kept getting called out for like, acting up in class. Like, this has always been his personality.
Let me just play devil's avocado for just a moment,
Go for
because
it.
I really truly agree with everything that you said, and I think that this is a insanely talented athlete who is at the peak of his game right now, and who knows how good he could be for years to come, right? Like he could get better.
Oh yeah,
but
I hope so.
There are some people who don't like the sort of showboating, braggadocious thing, and if we take the race out of it, right? Like, where do you stand on that whole like new school athlete, showboating, bragging, that type of stuff?
I love it because it comes from such a genuine place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it comes from, he honestly like believe like this is just. Like I said, it's a very genuine thing, and he doesn't buy into this false modesty thing. And
people don't like.
I hate it. Like if you're a really modest person, be a really modest person. If you're really like excited, like out there, if you really want to be an icon and entertainer, like be that. Like
people didn't like Muhammad Ali, right? Because he would run around saying, "I am the greatest." And you know what? He was right.
Right.
He was the greatest at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cam Newton is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now, and he truly believes that.
And he came into the league and, he got a lot of flack for this interview with he did with Peter King when he first came to the league saying, I want to be an icon and entertainer. Well, look, 5 years later, he's like, I mean, he can back it up, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like he can really and truly back it up. And it doesn't keep him from, I think this is the key. It doesn't keep him from working hard, from putting in the hard work, or from giving credit to the rest of his teammates and from also like being a good person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take away from the other things you need to be great.
The ad that's running for the Beats headphones right now,
it's really good.
Is so good.
It's
like
so
that.
good.
That to me sort of made me turn a little bit of a corner towards like maybe I can't say this publicly. I shouldn't say this publicly,
Okay,
but
all
like
right.
maybe liking Cam Newton a little bit.
It's just
when
between
he talks
us.
about people getting their feelings hurt, and he's like, "Too bad they don't make Band-Aids for feelings."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god." That is so good.
So, I've made a note. I will be archiving this.
Delete
so
this
we can
tape.
use it next week.
Delete this tape. If my Uncle Teeny Boy hears that I said something nice about Cam Newton, he will hit me at the next family reunion. All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Final score of the Super Bowl 50.
Oh, God. And see, this is where
I hate asking.
Well, and
sports writers
also, but
this.
also, this is where my bias comes in because
Go
I'm
ahead.
afraid to jinx them.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah, no,
but like from
You're afraid to jinx us. Is what you mean.
No. Oh, I'm so embarrassed right now. All my credibility is going away. No, you know what? Like, take that fear away. I would say 35-27 Panthers.
All right. I got to write that down.
I got a guess too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
31-21.
All right.
Hang on, I got to write these down. 35-27 for Linz. What'd you say?
31-21.
31.
That's good.
21.
I mean, they score 30 points in every game.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I think those are both spot on.
Yeah.
I think those are both really, really like where it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like 52-7.
No,
or
not
something crazy,
yeah, no.
right? Like I think the Denver defense is just too good for that. But I think that's right where it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the Panthers win.
I hope so.
I think the Panthers win.
I'm rooting for the Panthers as a Patriots fan.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
This guy. All right, it's 20 minutes past the hour. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the writing you've done on CTE and brain trauma. Something we talk about a lot on this show, and another sad story to talk about there with Lindsay Gibbs. She is from Think Progress Sports. She's in studio with us. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police, without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper-surveillance of the police. Their police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Talking about the Super Bowl. Talking about Scam Newton. I gotta get my Bama credits back.
It's all right. We balance each other out nicely.
I gotta get a little bit of that cred back. Scam Newton. And we're talking about all matters sports. Lindsay Gibbs is with me. She's a sports reporter for Think Progress. And Lindsay, I want to ask you about this story you just wrote about another case of head trauma, brain disease.
Right.
It's something we talk a lot about on the show with reporters and people who cover this stuff. Tell me about this latest case.
Well, you've got a 27-year-old, which is very young, who played in the NFL. He was a star at Iowa and then went to play for the New York Giants, even winning a Super Bowl with them. He wasn't one of their main star players. He played, I think, 23 games total. And before he finally got cut after his fifth concussion. Fifth reported concussion.
That's a very good point.
Which is, I mean, and that's something that's really, because, we know now that head trauma isn't just the big concussions. It's these subconcussive hits. Yeah. And also, there's so many different degrees of concussions that you can have a lot that you don't know about, that you don't report. But anyways, after his fifth reported concussion, and so he moved back home to Iowa. His name is Tyler Sash. He moved back home and started displaying, this erratic behavior that we kind of hear about time and time again. He was self-medicating. He had a shoulder injury from the NFL, so he was taking lots of pain pills. And his mom kind of thought that maybe his behavior was due to that. There was one instance where he led police on a bizarre chase, like on a scooter, and then went running through the woods. Just really crazy stuff. He couldn't focus long enough to keep a job of any kind. His attention span was shot. And he ended up dying last fall from accidental overdose of prescription pills. And his parents donated the brain, kind of thinking, like I said, they thought it was the prescription pill abuse, but they did donate it. And these researchers at the Veterans Affairs in Boston University found that he had levels of CTE. There's a scale. There's 0 to 4 in the scales, and he was affirmed 2, showing levels that were similar to that were found in Junior Seau, who was the Hall of Famer, who played for 19 seasons, who shot himself, who committed suicide but preserved his brain for study. And so the fact that a guy could only play in 23 games on the NFL level and still show brain damage that severe is pretty scary.
So we've got about a minute left here, but I just want to ask you sort of, where do we go from here, right? Because it's a problem and it doesn't seem to be getting any better.
No, we've got to look at ways. There are a lot of interesting studies happening now. What if we take the helmets off even just during practice? What if we, and so people are trained not to lead with their head. Yeah. They don't become as comfortable going there. What if we make these helmets less of weapons intrinsically? What if we ban tackle football for all youth levels, There's got to be some sort of compromise here. Football will never be completely safe. No sport ever is, Right. There's going to be some inherent damage, but the levels of damage you're seeing right now are it can't be sustained.
All right, good stuff. Read her good work at thinkprogress.org. Lindsay Gibbs, the sports reporter for Think Progress. Follow her on Twitter as well at Linz Sports, Linz Sports. Thanks for coming in, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk to you again soon. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We'll be right back with some goodies.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Across from me at the kitchen table, my mother smiles over red wine that she drinks out of a measuring glass.
She says she doesn't deprive herself, but I've learned to find nuance in every movement of her fork, in every crinkle in her brow as she offers me the uneaten pieces on her plate. I've realized she only eats dinner when I suggest it. I wonder what she does when I'm not there to do so. Maybe this is why my house feels bigger each time I return. It's proportional. As she shrinks, the space around her seems increasingly vast. She wanes while my father waxes. His stomach has grown round with wine, late nights, oysters, poetry, a new girlfriend who was overweight as a teenager, but my dad reports now she's crazy about fruit. It was the same with his parents. As my grandmother became frail and angular, her husband swelled to red, round cheeks, rotund stomach, and I wonder if my lineage is one of women shrinking, making space for the entrance of men into their lives, not knowing how to fill it back up once they leave. I have been taught accommodation. My brother never thinks before he speaks. I have been taught to filter. How can anyone have a relationship to food, he asks, laughing, as I eat the black bean soup I chose for its lack of carbs. I want to say we come from difference, Jonas. You have been taught to grow out. I have been taught to grow in. You learn from our father how to emit, how to produce, to roll each thought off your tongue with confidence. You used to lose your voice every other week from shouting so much. I learned to absorb. I took lessons from our mother in creating space around myself. I learned to read the knots in her forehead while the guys went out for oysters. And I never meant to replicate her, but spend enough time sitting across from someone and you pick up their habits. That's why women in my family have been shrinking for decades. We all learned it from each other, the way each generation taught the next how to knit, weaving silence in between the threads, which I can still feel as I walk through this ever-growing house. Skin itching, picking up all the habits my mother has unwittingly dropped, like bits of crumpled paper from her pocket on her countless trips, from bedroom to kitchen to bedroom again. Nights I hear her creep down to eat plain yogurt in the dark, a fugitive stealing calories to which she does not feel entitled. Deciding how many bites is too many, how much space she deserves to occupy. Watching the struggle, I either mimic or hate her, and I don't want to do either anymore, but the burden of this house has followed me across the country. I asked 5 questions in genetics class today, and all of them started with the word sorry. I don't know the capstone requirements. I don't know the capstone requirements for the sociology major because I spent the whole meeting deciding whether or not I could have another piece of pizza. A circular obsession I never wanted, but inheritance is accidental. Still staring at me with wine-soaked lips from across the kitchen table.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. Bill is out today, and he is going to be so mad that he's out today. And I'm thrilled, frankly, that I'm in the big chair. My name is Peter Ogward, sitting in for Bill. And I mentioned, man, I can't believe we're almost out of January. At the end of the weekend, we're going to be fully into February, which to me means one thing. Fat Tuesday. There you go. We are very, very, very close to Fat Tuesday, and nobody in this town knows it better than the owner and chef of Bayou Bakery, David Guas, who is in studio with me. Hey, David.
What's happening?
Thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I get to New Orleans a couple times a year. It's like my third home. I love it.
Right on.
Right. I don't get to call it home like you do.
It's all good.
But I want to.
It's so many people's second home. So
yeah, it's the greatest.
Yeah.
I mean, New Orleans is the greatest, and if you haven't been to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, it's worth doing once in your life at least because it's
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
Or twice.
Once or twice. Yeah, because you probably won't remember one of those.
Right.
But it's a good damn time. And, they threw a hell of a party down there.
We know how to celebrate life.
And the closest I've come to eating the good food in New Orleans is right here in Washington, D.C. at Bayou Bakery. 2 locations, one in Arlington and one dangerously close to this studio.
I'd say it's about a 6-iron maybe?
It's about a 6-iron to get to Bayou Bakery. And, you guys have already seen a lot of me. So I wanted to get you in. I wanted to talk about a couple things with you. Tell me a little bit about the tradition of Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday.
So it's always the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. It's the kickoff of Lent season, obviously. Where it truly starts is January 6th. So that's one date that's definite. So it's 12 days after Christmas. It's called the 12th night. And so that's when we kick off, Carnival traditionally. And we get a lot of king cake sales on the 6th from a lot of New Orleanians, that kind of welcome that sort of day by honoring it, getting cakes and whatnot. And then it'll go all the way to the Tuesday prior to Ash Wednesday. So that's the Mardi Gras season. So Mardi Gras Day's date changes every year.
Right.
So that's kind of that sort of rotating Catholic calendar. And so this year it's a little shorter season, but we're still going on. And we actually took our big bash party that we do in Arlington every year and we brought it to the Hill. We wanted the neighbors and everybody to truly come out and see what an authentic celebration is, and we've done it successfully in Arlington. It is a little difficult to say goodbye to that event because we threw a huge block party in front of the restaurant, but you know what better way to kind of get neighbors out and say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood, than kind of throw in a nice Mardi Gras party here on the Hill.
One of the things we love here is that it is a neighborhood, right? Like this is a legit neighborhood, which not all of DC is, and the fact that you guys are throwing a big party. It's February 9th.
That's right.
Bayou Gras. Here's the cool poster for it with the traditional colors, by the way.
That's right, purple, green, gold. They signify faith, justice, and power.
There you go.
So a lot of people think they're just sort of random colors, but they do. Everything actually has significance and meaning and tradition. So
that's one of the things that's so cool to me, right? In like a lot of parts of America, there are a lot of traditions and things that people just do just because they've always done them. Right. And they don't really know, but there's such a connection to the traditions, especially in New Orleans. A lot of people know that aside from doing this show, I'm a food writer. I wrote a piece about Réveillon, which is something that happens around Christmas in New Orleans. And it's just like, it's such a weird old tradition, but like people still love it. It's so cool that they're so close to the tradition there.
We're really steeped in tradition down there, and as a kid you take advantage of it, or it goes unnoticed. I mean, you kind of do these things and you don't really know why you're doing them, like any kids shouldn't really be paying attention to that kind of stuff. But then as you get older, you're like, okay, this is why we did that. And, and there's actually, some history behind it. So it's all about tradition down there. I mean, the culture is so rich with tradition, and New Orleans keeps a lot of that alive. And that's one thing I love about the city so much and the people that live there.
It's a city that lives and breathes the people. There's a vibrant downtown. There's all these vibrant neighborhoods. It's a lot of cool stuff.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about this Bayou Gras party. What can people expect if they show up? It's right here on Capitol Hill, right off Barracks Row, right next to the studio.
Where it's going to be. So essentially we drive business to the website, to our website, BayouBakery.dc.com, and you can get your tickets online. Pretty straightforward. You go to the Mardi Gras headquarters sort of tab and jam on that, and essentially what it is you buy like a food ticket, which gets you like 3 dishes. You can buy a beer ticket, which is going to get you 3 drafts. Abita is helping us this year in sponsoring. We've got Mardi Gras.
The beer of choice for Mardi Gras parties got to be Abita beer.
Yeah, and probably some other light beers that we drink on the outskirts of New Orleans. Those good old Cajuns down there don't drink a lot of Abita.
That's right.
But so we'll have Amber and Mardi Gras Bach, the seasonal, and then we actually have, drum roll, we have Gina Trisavani, who is going to be our mixologist for the evening. And so she and I are good friends. She's going to come out and make some crazy cocktails for us. And so she's going to be, she won't even tell me what they are right now.
You're speaking my language.
She's like this mad scientist. You know how she is. And she rolls, and she's just off the cuff, and she's just amazing. And she's a dear friend. And so she'll be doing it. Rappahannock is going to be shucking oysters. Those are what we call down in New Orleans lagniappe. So that's on us. So that doesn't come with a ticket. It's just like, We're going to be shucking about 800 oysters or so throughout the evening, and Rappahannock's been awesome. Travis and Ryan have supported our Bayou Gras since day one, and so when I told them we're taking it to the hill, they said we're there. So they didn't bat an eye, and so we're ready to rock, man. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have heated tents. We're going to have live music. It's going to be really special, and I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing new faces come out and just kind of bringing in, Lent the proper way. So,
by the way, if you want to go to Bayou Gras, we got a couple of tickets, right?
Yeah,
We're going to give out some tickets. Here's what you got to do. You got to tweet us what those 3 colors mean.
Nice.
You mentioned it earlier. You got to tweet at us at BP Show. Tweet to us what those 3 colors mean, the yellow, green, and purple, what those mean. David already said it. So you got to be paying attention here.
That's it.
Just tweet us those. We got tickets for you. Make sure you could get to the Hill on February 9th. That is a Tuesday. Fat Tuesday, of course. All right, so you brought in a big old king cake.
I did, yeah. This is how we're selling them, and this is what you'll get when you buy king cake from Bayou Baker, which also you can order on our website through PayPal.
Tell me about the tradition of, we've been talking about these traditions. Tell me about the tradition of the king cake.
Yeah, so it's, like anything, a little lost in translation perhaps, but essentially, wise men had brought a type of gâteau, round, circular, maybe oval, who knows, cake or bread, if you will. And then, the French kind of continued that tradition. And some were stuffed, some weren't. Some had jewels in them. Beans were also a popular item, like a big, large dried bean.
It smells so good.
Yes.
You just popped the top of that box, and I was like, man.
Yeah, Tressa, our pastry chef, put this one out early this morning. So I actually, on my way in, picked this one up from the Arlington location because that's where she was. And but we're pumping them out at both restaurants, both locations. You can call us. We can take your order over the phone, or you can do the PayPal, like I said, on the website. But what we do, ours is one type, so no choices. We pump out a lot of these, and we have a very small kitchen, so everything from scratch, obviously. So we have to kind of limit. In New Orleans, you can go in, you can get an apple-filled one, you can get a cherry, you can get all these. This is just pretty straightforward, a Danish-style dough, a little bit of cinnamon sugar inside, very little, and then we pipe some cream cheese filling inside.
Nice.
And then we finish it with the icing and then the tricolored sugars, which we will wait to see if somebody remembers.
That's right.
But purple, green, and gold, and then we give you some beads. We got a baby in there, and then, of course, we talk about, because we talked about the tradition and the history. In the back of this card, you get this index card. It talks about all the traditions of Mardi Gras.
Oh, that's cool.
And then on top, which a lot of people kind of toss this eventually, but it's a $15% off of a dinner entree. So that's important to know that when you do buy a king cake, save the index card that's
that's
inside.
great. That's great. I want to talk to you about the dinner stuff in a second, but you just talked about something. It's stuffed with one of these.
The baby.
One of these little babies.
Yes.
One of these little babies.
One of these little babies.
What's that all about?
Well, again, we talk about sort of the 12th night, 12 days after Christ was born, and Christmas, and so the significance had to do with sort of a new year, a new sort of a birth, basically, without sort of specifically saying that's baby Jesus.
Right.
Right. Little Talladega Night action. We could go off on a tangent with that one. But, so it's sort of one of those things. And, in New Orleans, they stuff them, put it inside the cake. We, being not in New Orleans, just put the baby in the box.
Yeah.
For you to jam it up wherever you want to put it, and in the cake, of course.
Let people decide.
Yes. So, we don't want to bake it and melt it, and we don't want anybody to choke on it.
Right.
So that's kind of how we kind of remove ourselves from that liability. But
all right, I'm gonna try a piece of this king cake. We're gonna take a little break. I'm gonna try some of this in the break, and we'll talk about it when we come back. Chef and owner of Bayou Bakery joins me in studio, David Guas. Man, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a big fan of the food you make, and I can't wait to try some of this king cake.
Thank you, sir.
Talking Bayou Gras. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it when we come back here on the Bill Press Show. Stay tuned.
Connect with the Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is the Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory towards students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is The Bill Press Show as I wipe the king cake from my mouth. Man, I've been crushing this thing during the break, and it is so good. We're joined by Chef David Guas from Bayou Bakery right here in town in Arlington, Virginia, and also right here on the hill right across the street. Make sure you visit them at BayouBakeryDC.com. BayouBakeryDC.com. You can order your own king cake, check out their menu, and all kinds of good stuff there. David, thanks again for coming in, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
All right, I have to ask you a question because I am a full-blown biscuit snob. And
must be from the South.
I'm from South Carolina.
There you go.
And my family's from Alabama. We know how to make biscuits in my family. That's one of the first things I learned when I was a kid was how to make good biscuits. DC has a biscuit deficit. I got to tell you, we don't have a ton of great biscuits in this town.
Yes, there's very few.
Bayou Bakery makes a phenomenal biscuit.
Thank you, sir.
Bayou Bakery makes a phenomenal biscuit. Jamie Benson and I have made several runs over there for the bacon, egg, and cheese with Benton's bacon.
You can't. I mean, that's. I don't know which one's the star. I mean, yes, we all know. I mean, Alan is a phenomenal,
a legend.
Yes, legend.
What did I give you for Christmas, Jamie?
2 huge packages of Benton's bacon.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right. I spent a little time with Alan.
Anyone
Benton
has ever given.
Alan's great.
He's a great guy.
Yes. Good
Super
guy.
Sweet guy. What's your secret to making biscuits as good as those?
You know, like any good Southerner, you know, it's about everything, but flour first and foremost. So White Lily flour using which is a soft wheat flour. So that's where your tenderness comes from. Period. You can almost beat it to death with White Lily, and it's still going to be a tender biscuit.
And that's the problem is a lot of people overbeat these biscuits,
or they use an all-purpose or some other type of blend, or not a soft wheat like White Lily produces. produces. So we are a non-shortening biscuit, so we're an all butter. So structurally, sometimes there's some issues, but flavor-wise, I think we're right where we need to be.
I love them.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
love
appreciate
them.
that.
One of the things y'all just started doing, because you have got a phenomenal breakfast and you've got all kinds of good lunch stuff over there, but you hadn't been serving dinner until now.
Yeah.
You guys have started serving dinner.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about your dinner menu.
So we've always been open for dinner since in Arlington and on the Hill since we opened. So closing at 9 p.m. and sort of doing a nice little dinner. But what we found is that it was a little confusing what we were trying to do in the evening. So we were before doing one entree every night of the week, and now we have a typed menu that kind of looks like a dinner menu, more traditional style menu, and it's typed every day, so we adjust it and tweak it daily. So we do dinner from 5 to 9, Monday through Saturday now, and we've gotten composed entrees and appetizers and starters and snacks and side dishes, and so it you can walk in and get that and say, okay, I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of sifting through our daytime menu and not really knowing what we were trying to be and do. And, for those that don't know, we're in the old carriage house that is adjacent to the,
beautiful spot.
Naval Hospital.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
So it's now the Hill Center, which is we consider a partner of ours, and just an amazing space, period. I mean, so lucky to be in such a space that has so much history. So again, going back to New Orleans and the traditions and history and latching on and that wrought iron fence, I feel like I'm in Jackson Square.
Totally.
As soon as I walk through that gate every day, I feel like I'm somewhere else.
Yeah, there's real specific vibe there.
Anywhere in the city that's as unique as the Naval Hospital and where we are now. So,
that's an excellent point.
Yes.
That's an excellent point. I have to say, a couple of things on this menu that caught my eye right
popping off the page, yeah.
Belly of the day.
Yeah, sure.
Belly of the day. This makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
This makes me happy. Ask how our pork belly is served tonight. A different preparation of pork belly every night.
Pretty much, yeah. We do a lot of obviously pickled items with acid to kind of balance, the richness and the fattiness of what pork belly should be. And so Chris Clune is our chef there, and he and I have been playing with this, and this is his wonderful addition to the menu. And so something that you definitely we haven't done before. So like I said, sort of chef-driven, composed apps and sort of main entrees, and then we've got some plated desserts by Tressa, our pastry chef. Of course, we can't take off the beignets, so the beignets are still all day, every day.
Beignets.
A lot of people come in and they go, "Oh, it's after 11 o'clock. Can we still get beignets?" And the answer is, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
From when
for
we
a beignet,
unlock the door to when we lock it up at night, beignets are always available. So.
Beignets are your beignets are absolutely delicious.
Appreciate
They're
it,
crazy good. Also, I love the fact you have crawfish Monica on here, which I've never. I mean, I see on menus every now and then, but it's a jazz fest thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big jazz fest.
Yes,
thing.
just like Mrs. Wheat's crawfish pies or Natchitoches meat pies, things that you don't see on people's menus all year round that you would see at the festival at Jazz Fest in April and May. So,
I can't wait to come in and get me some crawfish Monica. I'm so excited.
You could read further because it's obviously a gourmet version of that sort of traditional dish. We're getting crawfish tail meat in from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, and Chris is making a pappardelle pasta from scratch. Obviously, he's got big Italian roots and has been in the restaurant business since he was in diapers. And he's making pasta, every day. And we cook it to order and saute it. We got a little bit of oyster mushrooms in there, and we deglaze the pan with some shrimp stock and some heavy cream with Creole seasoning, and make it a little spicy and zesty. And it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds so good. That sounds so good. All right, check it out. BayouBakeryDC.com. Follow them on Twitter at Bayou Bakery. And remember, we're going to tweet out all the information for Mardi Gras. It's Tuesday, February 9th, 6 to 9 p.m. right here on the Hill, right out the back door of this studio. So
6 iron.
Yeah, it's a 6 iron away. Chef owner David Guas, thank you so much for coming in, buddy. I really appreciate it, man. This was awesome.
You bet.
All right, very, very, very quick break, and then we'll be right back. Wrap up the show. Thanks, y'all.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
What to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. A public service announcement brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm like trying to get ready to do the last segment of the show. I look down, I got king cake all over my shirt. Got frosting all over my face. I'm like an animal in here. Hey, they got beads in here too, yo. You could wear these, Jamie.
The immortal words of Peter Ogburn, keep your top on.
Keep your top on. Oh, there's some frosting on that too. All right. What a show we had today, man.
That was good.
What a Friday
That was
show.
a good Friday show.
Little debate recap, little Donald Trump stuff, little baked goods, some baked goods. And remember, I've got it written down, Jamie. Your prediction. Carolina Panthers 31, Denver Broncos 21. That's the final score.
That's my pick.
Boy, next week is going to be crazy. Iowa caucuses, they're happening. They're going to start off next week. Bill's going to be back. We've got a lot of stuff coming up next week, so this is going to be the place to be. Stay here, stay tuned, because we're going to have all the results, we're going to have all the analysis, we're going to have everything you need. Plus, week after next, we're going to New Hampshire. We're actually going to take a trip up to New Hampshire. We'll be broadcasting live from the primaries up there, so get ready, because once we start with this primary season, it's going to take a while for us to get out of it, so we're diving in. All right. That's it. Have a magical weekend. Come back and see us on Monday with Bill Press. Again, my name is Peter Ogburn. Have a great weekend.
This is the Bill Press Show.